Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful Thursday. It's beautiful here in Michigan for the People First Leadership webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about the silent killer of progress, why everyone's busy but not getting anything accomplished. And this is something that I think we have all fallen into at some point, at some time in our careers, whether they be in leadership or not in leadership. And we're going to talk about them today. And I'm going to end with a formative assessment and a way that we can kind of fix that. And I've talked about formative assessment in other webinars before. I've done a couple of videos on my YouTube channel about formative assessment, and it is used, can be used in just about everything in life. So we're going to dive into that towards the end. But let's talk about the difference between activity and effectiveness in a team. I have been part of a team. I've done it myself where I have been just super busy. And then at the end of the day, it's like, man, I am so tired. I got so many things done. And then I look back and it's like, but I didn't accomplish anything worthwhile. Nothing that I did actually move the ball down the field. I was just busy. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Busyness can mask deeper issues like prioritization. How are you prioritizing things in your business, in your organization? I'm going to give you a really good example. One of the clients that I contracted with last summer was having a hard time getting their employees, new employees specifically, to get up to speed on certain tasks. And it was like, well, I showed them that last month, and yep, I should probably show it to them again. And I said, well, you're struggling to, fill in the schedule for the hourly employees, and because you need certain employees to do certain tasks, but not all of them can do these tasks. I said, what if you could have every employee do every task that you need done? And that owner was like, oh, that'd be fantastic. Then I could just put people in the schedule and know it's going to get handled. And I said, well, how do we get there? Well, Johnny needs to be able to do this, and Tommy needs to be able to do this, and Susie needs to be able to do this. And yeah, okay. So how do we get there? So what we devised was a spreadsheet, all of the tasks, the major tasks, and learnings that each new employee needed to have so that they could be fully independent working in this business. And so what we did, and it was easy. We just made a spreadsheet and then listed them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are the things that we needed to do. And then they had to get a check mark or an initial from either the assistant manager, the manager, or the owner to show that they had gone through this procedure with them. And they needed a total of 3 check marks or initials to prove that they had done this with a manager, and the manager had approved that they had done it. So it was basically, your check mark card. Here's your task. You have to get 3 check marks to show that you've done this successfully 3 different times. Then that should prove to us that you can be independent in this task. Easy to do. Just put a checklist in front of your people so that they know what they need to be able to accomplish. Put the cookies in the bottom shelf. Don't hide things. Let people see the things that they need to do and then show them how to do those things. Period. That's it. It doesn't have to be a secret. Well, I don't know if they're ready for that yet, and we'll talk about that in a couple months. And sure, maybe there are parts of that, but you also want your employees, the people in your organization, to know exactly what they're working towards, because then they can do that better. So let them know what they're doing. Okay, this is what I want you to be able to do. Here's this list of 10 things. And by the time we're done with your training, you should be able to do these 10 things by yourself independently. And here's the process that we're going to use to do that. I'm going to do it with you, so you see me doing it the correct way. We call that like an anchor paper. The reason I call it an anchor paper is in literature and teaching kids how to do research papers. You give them a paper that's been done perfectly, and you say, this is a great example, so they have something to attain to. Oh, that's what this looks like. That's how this sounds. So if you do something in front of your employees perfectly the right way, they're not going to see the wrong way to do it. So there's a reason for showing them the right way to do things. Then when you have them do that thing, you have them copy you, mimic you, do exactly what you did. Don't try it a different way. Do it exactly the way that I've done it. So that way they start forming that process in their brain of, this is the right way to do that thing. Yes. Then you can get into, all right, so what are some wrong ways to do this? Because then that will compare and contrast, which is a higher order thinking for what they learn to do the right way. The reason that you want to do that is because you show them the wrong way to do something. And then how does that compare to the right way? Oh, that's why that's wrong. Yes, now you've just solidified the right way in their minds again. So, super easy. Again, I've said this many times before. Exceptional leadership is not hard, but it does need to be done consistently, purposefully, and specifically. So, output doesn't always translate to impact. You may be running around like a chicken with your head cut off and doing a bunch of stuff, but it has no impact on what you're doing. So, look at your priorities. Are you getting done the things that you need to get done? So, as leaders, as business owners, as CEOs, whoever may be watching this, if you are tasking out your day, your week, your month, your quarter, whatever that is, set in priority form the things that really need to happen. Then those should then structure the way that you work that day, that week, that month, that quarter. Okay, if this is the most important thing to get done, then this is what we're going to focus on, and we're going to focus on getting these tasks done that are in alignment with this goal. Because, well, I've got to return this phone call. I've got to do this email. I've got to have this meeting. And then at the end of the day, you've done nothing moving towards your goal of that day, week, month, quarter. You've got to have a list of priorities and then follow that list. Make sure the actions that you are doing are following the list of priorities that you have in place. Second part, how to create alignment between roles, goals, and results. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but it does. Roles, goals, and results. Ensure everyone knows how their work supports the larger mission. Now, I know, everybody has to have a mission and a vision. Yes, we do. And many times companies and organizations have mission and vision statements, and they have them so they can put them on a plaque on the wall, and it looks fantastic. And yes, this is our mission and this is our vision. But nobody really knows what that mission and vision is really all about. They don't talk about it. It's not reviewed. It's not upheld in the company. It's really just kind of like a trophy. And if you're not using it on a daily basis, nobody knows what it's there for. If you said it, use it. So use it. And you're like, Todd, this is basic stuff. Like, why are you just repeating basic stuff? It's like, because people aren't doing it. And if you would do these basic things, do them well, the hard things would kind of take care of themselves. And shout out to Craig Gray, my former Krav, not my former, I'm the former, my Krav Maga instructor. And he's like, yeah, I can teach you all these super fancy spinning, flipping back kicks and all this, whatever. That's not what is going to save your life in an emergency self-defense situation. The basics done really well is what the masters do. Yeah, can they do all the fancy stuff? Sure, but they don't use that. They use the basics, and they do them extremely well. Same thing for leadership. Do the basics really well, and that is what's going to move you forward. So, your mission and your vision. Have a mission and vision that you can point to on a daily basis. I'm going to give you a really basic example back from my teaching days. When I was in a classroom, I would have learning objectives or learning goals on the board every single day. And let's say we're going to, let's do math because that's the easiest one to do. Let's say we're going to learn to multiply 2-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. So I would put that on the board, like write it at the top. Learn to multiply 2-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. Then as I progressed through my lesson and my teaching with the students, usually about 5 or 6 times, I would say, hey, why are we doing this? I don't know, Mr. H, why are we doing this? Because we're going to learn to multiply 2-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. Oh, yeah, okay. And I would refer back to that learning objective multiple times in the lesson. So then that gave my students a goal, that gave them a focal point of, yes, this is why we're doing this, and this is what this is for. Same thing in your business and organization. Your mission should be something that you can point to on a daily basis and say, this is why we are doing this thing. Are we better educating our customers? Are we bringing value to our clients? Whatever your mission or vision statement is, should be something that your employees can point to and be like, that thing right there, that's why I'm doing this. And this is furthering this objective, which supports that mission and that vision. And that's how you should move through that. Ensure everyone knows that their work is supporting the mission and vision. Sometimes they need reminders like, oh man, the mailroom guy. Yep, I'm just pushing mail, delivering the mail around the company. Yep. Well, hey, Todd, the mail guy, do you know why your job's important? Because people need to get the mail. Well, yeah, people need to get the mail, but here's another reason your job is important is a lot of our contracts come through the mail. And in order to get these contracts and sign them, we need you to deliver these contracts. Todd, did you know that you delivered $3 million contracts to different managers last week alone? And had you not done your job well, we wouldn't have gotten those contracts signed on time. So your job, though you think may not be very important, is vital and critical for the company. Easy example, yes. But how long did that take me? 20 seconds to say that to Todd, the mailroom guy? And now I've given him a piece of that mission and that vision so that he understands why he's important. Clarify key performance indicators and team objectives. This is something that, again, I would do with my classes. I do with my clients. Like, okay, what are we looking to do? Okay, we are looking to find inefficiencies, remove them, and put in efficient processes in place. Okay, that's what we're going to focus on. I had this example. I did an on-site review with one of my clients a couple of weeks ago. And so I went to their location and I said, my job here is to interact with you a little bit, but really just to watch. And this was a retail establishment. And so I went and I was observing, and one of the new employees got a customer in the door, and the customer was explaining what they needed, what they wanted. And that new employee was kind of talking about it with them. And then the customer asked a question that the new employee didn't know. So called over the owner of the store. Hey, what about this question? Not sure about that. The owner then gave the answer and then proceeded to take over the sale. Because the owner was standing there, the owner proceeded to just have the conversation with the customer. And then the new employee was kind of standing there twiddling his thumbs because he didn't have anything else to do because the owner was now talking to the customer that he was helping. And so at the end of the day, that owner took 15, 20 minutes to have that conversation with that new customer. So that was my feedback. I said, you did a great job answering her question, but then you should have left. You should have turned around, walked away, and gone back to what you were doing because you lost 20 minutes of your personal work time. And that's something that you say you need more of, is you need more hours in a day to get done the things that you need to do, because there are certain things only owners can do, employees can't do. So when you walked over and you answered that question and then you kind of got stuck there yourself, you should have said, okay, there's the answer to your question. I'm going to turn you back over to Todd, the sales guy. He's going to finish up with you. If you have any further questions, Todd, just come get me. All right, great. And then go back to what you were doing. And then your answer would have been 15 to 20 seconds, a little bit of time out of your day. And then you could have gone back to placing the orders or doing the schedule or working on payroll or whatever it is that the owner had to do at the time. So make sure that you know what you're supposed to be doing. And is what you are doing impacting the company and moving it down the field? That was a time where that owner really wasn't doing anything that impacted the company. That was something the employee should have been doing. But just being the conversational person that they are, they jumped in and finished up the sale. Well, okay, but now you're down 20 minutes. And now you also had an unproductive 20 minutes for that employee who's just kind of standing there listening to you. Do you see how this all lines up? Good. So some tools for diagnosing and fixing broken systems or workflows. Use process mapping to identify bottlenecks. It's kind of just what I was talking about. Look at your inefficiencies. Why is this taking so long? Well, we've got these 3 steps. Well, step 2 and 3 are kind of the same. Do we need to be repetitive? No, we don't. All right, let's remove one of those steps because the same thing can get done. Look at your training. See if the training that you've given your employees is efficient. Are your efficiencies helping the employee, or are they bogging them down? This is something that you can always look at. I've got a note to myself here. I write separate handwritten notes next to my typed out notes so that I can keep myself on track. And talked about a training checklist. I kind of jumped the gun earlier on in this webinar because I talked about that right away, but that's exactly what we need to do. Have things in place that you can look at and see and say, oh, yes, this has been accomplished. Great, let's move on. You don't need to spend more time on something than what needs to be spent on it. But then sometimes you do need to spend extra time on something if it hasn't been grasped by the employee or the person who's receiving the training. And also conduct regular retrospectives to uncover inefficiencies. I'm going to make a suggestion to you that I know a lot of leaders and business owners don't like to do, because we're the leaders and business owners. We like to make decisions. It's more efficient if I just decide to do the thing and then I just do the thing and then it's just done. Yes, but you're going to miss stuff. You're really, really going to miss stuff. So let me use Toyota, the car company Toyota. They have, and I think they still use it, though a lot of things are automated. But back in the day when they had more manned assembly lines, they had a rule in place where any one person on the assembly line could hit the stop button and stop the assembly line if they saw a problem that was either coming from above them or going to affect somebody below them. Once the assembly line was stopped, they got to have a conversation with upper level management about what this problem was and how to fix it. They couldn't just stop and be like, oh, that rivet's wrong. They had to have some sort of solution in mind. This is really powerful because you are getting the insight from the person who is doing the work. When your car breaks down, do you take it to a mechanic or do you take it to the engineer who designed the car? You take it to the mechanic. Let's talk about the engineer for a second. Why don't you take it to the engineer? Well, they designed the car. They designed it to work the way that it works. You would think they would know what's going wrong. Well, we take it to the mechanic because the mechanic works with the problems and fixes the problems that sometimes the engineers created, right? Yes. So the person who is doing the daily work in the trenches is going to have insight on how to accomplish certain things because they're doing it over and over and over and over every day. You are the leader, you are the manager, you're the owner, the CEO. You may not see the things that they are coming up against that need to be rectified or handled. So use them. Another really good example is the Israeli military. And they have also a policy called Man on the Ground Takes Command. Now, that is not the official name of it because that's just what I'm calling it. But for this purposes of this, that's going to make the most sense. So obviously the military has, the privates and the sergeants and lieutenants and, up the scale of command. So obviously the commands come from the generals and then kind of flow downward like every other military. But they have a policy in place that if there is some sort of conflict going on, the man on the ground assumes command because he is in the situation. He is seeing the real-time effects of decisions and knows what is best for the situation. So if you've got a conflict going on the ground over here and you've got generals making decisions, but they're not getting this real-time information, they're making decisions that are delayed or not based on good information. So the people on the ground over here then get to then make the call and send that up the chain of command because that gets things handled faster and usually more efficiently and with better precision. Same goes for your business, your organization. If you are a leader and you are not actively engaged in whatever the thing is going on that your employees are doing on a regular basis, ask them about it. Like, okay, I'm going to talk to the maintenance guy. All right, you're cleaning 5 rooms an hour. We need to cut some inefficiencies. I need you to clean 4 rooms an hour. Well, if you just hand that down, they aren't gonna like, okay, like I can work harder, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get done. But if you say, hey, Todd, the cleaning guy, I need you to clean 4 rooms an hour. You're currently cleaning 5. Is that possible? Well, I think it's possible, but one of the things that I have to do before I clean a room is I have to put all of the chairs up on top of the tables, and that takes time. So when you have a meeting, if you leave that meeting and you put all of the chairs up on the table when you leave, then I don't have to do it. Then yeah, I could probably do 4 rooms an hour, or I'm sorry, 5 rooms an hour. Oh, that makes more sense because the person doing the work is going to have insights into that. Last thing I want to talk about is formative assessment. And this is something that is big in the education industry, but you have seen it used on a daily basis. If you have ever been part of a sports team, whether it be in high school, college, or something that you're involved in as an adult now, you have seen formative assessment used, and it is what the coaches do. So if you go to practice, there's going to be a coach, and there's going to be a coach watching what the players are doing, right? Yes. He's going to be seeing if they're doing it correctly or incorrectly. And if they do it incorrectly, he's going to then give them adjusting feedback and say, hey, you chased this ball wrong. I need you to do it this way because that's the better way to do this thing. Okay, coach, got it. Run it again. All right, coach is then watching again. Great, you got it that time. That's the way that I need you to do it. Or if you did it wrong again, coach is going to give you more feedback. It is a cyclical thing. Assess performance, provide feedback and adjust your instruction, assess performance again to see if it's going well or needs more adjustment, and then start from the top. Sports, cooking, gardening, coaching, mentoring, all of these things are just things I'm thinking of and I wrote down as those are things that you see in formative. Like take cooking, for example. Hey, the heat's too high. I'm going to burn this, whatever I'm making. I better turn the heat down. So you assess the situation. You gave yourself some feedback. You made an adjustment. Now you're assessing again. Okay, yep. All right, great. Gardening. Hey, I planted the seed and I'm watering it once a day. It's 90 degrees outside and sunny. Soil's getting pretty dry. I'm probably going to need to water it 2 or 3 times a day until the heat comes down a little bit. So you assess the situation, you gave yourself some feedback, you adjusted what you were doing, then you moved forward and reassessed. It's easy, but man, if you are constantly assessing and adjusting, there's not really anything that's going to escape you unless it's something that you can't see or something that's being hidden from you. So think about that as you go into this 4th of July weekend. Let that sit on your brain for a little bit. How can I assess and adjust on a more regular basis to be more effective for my employees? Because remember, your job as a leader is not to just stand in the middle of the circus ring and point your finger and give commands. Sometimes your job as a leader is to create an environment for your employees to flourish. And what does that mean? It means supporting them. And if you support your employees and create a place for them to flourish, they will thrive. Now, go do it. Thank you for joining me today. Until next week, we will see you. Have a great weekend.